Hello everyone and welcome to WhatCulture Gaming. I'm Josh, joined as ever by Ben Roy Turner for some news today because...
before we go into this, I know... Sorry, I probably rushed on my mic. I know I'm not usually on the news, but...
I bring you in one Resident Evil video and you wear whatever this is.
It's Resident Evil time, but... Okay, sorry, no more. Go on.
Come on, I mean, it's not like it's raining in here, is it? Put that away. The umbrella, that's bad luck. Anyway, you might have guessed this is a Resident Evil 3 update because there has been an interview with Famitsu between a couple of the developers working on the Resi 3 remake, which, as you can tell, we are very much looking forward to. We've got a bit of an update in time for its April release, and I am very excited for this, as you are, Ben Roy, but after reading some of these points, I am a little bit worried that Capcom might be falling back onto some bad habits.
See, I would like to say I'm worried, but I'm also very optimistic, because it feels like after Resident Evil 6 is their best-selling Resident Evil game of all time,
yes,
they could have just kept going with, let's just chuck out some action. Then we got 7, which was slowed all the way down and harkened on some of these corridor crawling scary games that I can't think of.
Yeah, it was like first person, like kind of amnesia driven, wasn't it? It was very slow and very back to basics.
And that obviously didn't sell as well, but then they're still apparently going on with the creepy film. We got 2.
Yeah, 2 was the perfect kind of synergy for my
You can move and shoot.
You can move and shoot. Yes. You had the third person perspective. You had the tenets of Resident Evil, but it was so survival horror driven and it was so scary again for the first time in a long time. And the worry is with this one because
they want to make it
more action heavy, sadly. Masao Kawada and Peter J. Fabiano were talking to Famitsu, and they were saying that Resident Evil 3 Remake is going to be more action heavy than Resident Evil 2, and they were trying to focus on action rather than the fear of zombies, as one translated outlet put it.
Everyone remembers Nemesis in this game.
Yes.
You don't remember the Gravedigger worm that appears twice. I don't. Just a giant worm that appears in the graveyard and you electrocute it, and you don't really remember. You remember there were more zombies. That was the big picture of this. There was more zombies, and there was a giant guy chasing you called Nemesis.
Yes.
So I think that's why they're going to focus on that a bit more, because it just makes more sense. It's as Raccoon City is in the midst of the infection happens, so they're going to be everywhere.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, the original Resident Evil 3 was already more action-heavy than Resident Evil 2, which was itself more action-heavy than Resident Evil 1. It's just, to me, as kind of, a fan of this franchise and someone who has followed each and every game and seen Capcom try their hardest to put more action into these titles and kind of fail. It's frustrating because it's so immediate after 2's remake, I think, which for me got the balance absolutely pitch perfect, but then at the same time that did pioneer this absolutely excellent combat system where zombies took so many bullets to take down, and it was so dynamic. Like when you were shooting flesh off zombies in that game, it was so visceral and violent and fun, and you might have gotten through it but thinking, I wish I headshotted a couple more zombies. I'm a bit good, I couldn't. But I would always prefer that restraint over than trying to overstuff the pudding, as it were.
It's weird because I'm trying to think back, and the other one did feel more fast-paced, and there were times when it went down there, but I think as they did before, they feel like they've just got to do a little bit more.
Yeah.
Hopefully we don't go as far as we did to 5 and 6, where it's all just run and gun now, because apparently they're going to change parts of the city as well. Actual locations are going to be a bit tweaked up. So I take that as maybe when we were in Raccoon City, we used to go down one street at a time. Maybe there was an intersection at one point as well. But maybe instead of having one area to go through, there's maybe 3 streets and a few shops.
Yeah.
To make it feel a bit more like a city. Obviously you can have all these cars and buildings broken so you can't go through. But I think that is probably the perfect line to do it with.
I would agree. I mean, because when you look at the elements that make up Resident Evil 3, you obviously have Nemesis pursuing you all the way through the game, so that does lend itself to potentially more set pieces and potentially more action, and like you said, you are in the thick of it, you're in the city, which does lend to more chaos, which could be executed well, and I do have faith that Capcom knows what they're doing, especially after their recent string of games, including Resident Evil 2 and Devil May Cry 5. But like you said, they are rearranging is the word they use. They are rearranging the original game far more allegedly than they did with the second game, and I do think that would benefit this title, which was infamously, it was originally going to be a spin-off, and then they needed a numbered sequel, so they just retroactively kind of fitted that into being Resident Evil 3. And like you said, it felt very much like you were just running down corridors that were supposed to be this big, cityscape, and it didn't really feel like you were part of something epic, whereas they could absolutely nail that. The
reason why I don't feel it's not as fondly remembered as most people think of, like when they look back at Resident Evil. Obviously, like some people like Jules in the office loves this game, but this isn't about going through one area like the police station or the Spencer Mansion. This is more like all these areas which stretched along rather than all compacted on each other, so it feels like almost like a Dark Souls, like you go to one area and you unlock a door, you come back round, and sort of thing. So I think that's why then hopefully they're going to try and put a bit more of that into this as well.
Well, that's what I love about all of the Resident Evil games, is that sort of Metroidvania style design where you do have a space and then you're constantly unlocking new things in it. But for me, 2 and 1 to an extent, when you go down into the labs, when you start breaking those sections up, I always feel like, for me, the best part of Resident Evil 2, both the original and the remake, is the police station. And I like everything outside of that when you move to new locations, but it's never quite as strong as that centralized thing. So I don't know whether that's going to translate over to 3.
Nobody likes a sewer level.
Nobody likes a sewer level. Why do you keep putting them in Spider-Man games? I'm going to get off topic here, but stop putting sewer levels in Spider-Man games. Spiders and sewers, they don't water.
Is there a spider in the sewer level? Is there a spider in the sewer? Is there a sewer level in the new Spider-Man?
There is not, I don't think, thankfully. But in every other Spider-Man game, Ben Roy, there's always spiders in there. Just like there's always spiders in the sewers of Resident Evil games.
Something else is also changing. Carlos.
Yeah, right. This is why I brought you in, because you need to brush me up on my Resident Evil 3 lore, because that, like you mentioned, like a lot of people, that's the Resi game that I know the least about, and I've only played it once back in the day, and I'm not even sure if I completed it. I only know really Nemesis and the general story beats. So how do those extra characters, because I know according to this interview that Brad is going to get a bigger story as well.
Brad was almost pointless in like the original games. He was the pilot who's also scared, abandoned you at one point, and just. So hopefully Brad actually acts more like a STARS now, because this is meant to be like special tactics and...
Come on, get it.
Rescue squad.
Nice one.
Squad or service, don't attack me for this, sorry. And I feel like they need to actually make them feel more like this rather than campy sort of like, oh, I'm scared, I'm terrified, blah.
Yeah.
And with Carlos, he was always a bit of a creep who would just reappear every now and then, like... not as you'd see in the Resident Evil Apocalypse, where Carlos is actually a cool dude.
This is what I was going to actually ask you, because I know Carlos mainly from Resident Evil 2 and 3 in the movies, and it sounds like they're perhaps going to change game Carlos's personality to be a bit more like that. Apparently, according to this interview, his characterization has been overhauled quite dramatically.
He spent a few times in RE3 just commenting on how Jill was a woman, like running around shooting zombies and stuff. So a few bits like that and a few overly flirty things and trying to get with Jill, just like...
So he's let me get this straight. He's taken the zombie apocalypse, the destruction of Raccoon City, as an opportunity to try and go on the pull.
Not fully on the pull, but it was a bit, bit 1999, would you say?
Right, very much, yeah.
Very much the Attitude Era of life when you were just... Things like that flew, but it doesn't fly anymore.
Yes.
So I think Carlos needs to be... I feel like as Jill as well will be brought forward, and the hokey sort of dialogue will be gone, like whereas it sort of worked for Leon still.
Yeah.
I feel like they can have Jill more grounded and more like... ready to go and tackle this sort of thing.
Well, that's what they did say. They said that because there's more action, they've tweaked Jill's outfit to be kind of more appropriate to, performing these feats of heroism and stuff like that. And I like the new designs. I know a lot of people will kind of rebel against them, like they did with Leon and Claire in Resident Evil 2, but I like the photorealism of it personally. I think it adds to the kind of intensity of the game and it adds to the scares. But like you said, that does potentially necessitate rewriting certain dialogue that would feel a bit jarring to go with these extremely realistic character models.
Yeah, now sure, like we all seen Jill from RE3 where her legs, she's wearing a skirt and she's just like not ready for a combat situation like she was in 1.
Yeah.
With these massive shoulder pads on. But that it's kind of like almost sort of worked because at one point her flat just blew up and she just fell out and there were zombies everywhere. So it was kind of like a bam, here we go, done.
No, there's fully something in that, I think, when they're caught off guard, literally in the event of an apocalypse.
I think though, if someone's ready to leave Raccoon City, they won't be wearing that attire in the first place.
You'd be prepared a little bit.
And if you pre-order it, you get the original stuff anyway. So.
Do you really? Will you be pre-ordering this game, Ben Roy? Have you already got it pre-ordered somehow?
I want the Super Edition, but we didn't get over here.
Oh no! One final thing is that the game is apparently 90% complete, so there will be no delays in time for its April release date. But I want to know what you guys think down in the comments below. Have these details inspired confidence in Resident Evil 3? We're still convinced it's going to be amazing. I just hope it isn't too action heavy. And of course, Ben Roy has one more thing to show you that isn't the umbrella.
Just remember, it's almost sandwich time.
We'll see you soon. Make sure to like, share, subscribe, and bye-bye. I'm going to put this thing down because it's really bad luck. I can't do it.
Pull it.
Pull it.